Welcome everyone to our final episode of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers book club. This is the final 3 volumes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because Boom Studios collects these in the worst way possible. But
it's true.
Yeah, we are doing issue. The last 3 volumes include the last 9 issues, 21 through 30, and the final one shot, which ends Kyle Higgins' run, Shattered Grid.
10 issues.
10 issues.
Yeah.
So 21 through 20. So 21 through 24 are written by Kyle Higgins. Of course, the entire thing is written by Kyle Higgins, with art by Jonas Scharf and Joanna Lafuente. 25 to 30, Daniele Di Nicuolo picks up art with Walter Baiamonte. Then the one shot is Manuel Di Nicuolo and Dieso Galindo. I'm so sorry. With colors by Walter Baiamonte and Marcelo Costa. And everything is lettered by Ed Dukeshire. Now, this also has backup stories. Squat and Babbo. Squat and Babbo by Ryan Ferrier with Bachan on art with Triona Farrell. And the next backup story that they pick up is Blue Centurion and Ninjor, also by Ryan Ferrier, and drawn by Bachan, but with colors by Jeremy Lawson.
Ryan Ferrier is the new writer for the new series that just came out.
Yeah, he's also the writer for Go-Go Power Rangers, which is a great series, which I really liked.
Man, he's taken over the reins, I guess, then.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so what do we think about these final volumes?
I think they're okay.
And so to clarify, like this is volumes, which numbers?
6, 7, and 8.
And 8 is just 2 issues and the one shot.
And the one shot, yes.
Wow. That's the volume.
That's terrible.
Wow.
Boom,
All
get
right.
your Boom Studios, we love you, but get your act together. Damn.
I think it's I've read other Boom books. I think it's only this one that they collect 4 in an issue.
Yeah, this is not standard for Boom Studios.
Weird.
I want to say there's another Boom that we know.
Yeah.
Is just 4 issues, but I can't think of which one it is. But
Well,
I don't
say
it's not standard, but I do think they do this on others.
Yeah.
I will say 12-issue minis are collected in 4 issues, 4-issue volumes.
So weird.
I think all of the Adventure Time ones are 4 issues a volume. Is that correct, Brandon?
I don't know. I haven't read them.
I mean, that makes more sense. Those seem like more like kind of standalone. Like they don't need to be.
No, they are.
Yeah.
That's true. But I mean, it's still like how much you get packed in for
Bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like the Adventure Time, like the mini series. I'm talking like when they were doing the Adventure Time, like just run through comic.
Yeah.
Steven Universe, I think, is the same case because that's Boom Studios too.
Because I read Kong of Skull Island, which is a 12-issue miniseries, maxi series, sorry, and that's collected 4 issues and 4 issues per volume. And Berserker, which is Keanu Reeves' new book, is coming out. It will be collected in 3 volumes with 4 issues each.
I mean, if that's if that's how your business runs, I guess that's cool. That's cool, dog. Get
It's
more
certainly
money.
a choice.
Yes,
They
All
do
right,
sell the trades for less than most other people, at least.
that's good.
That's true.
Like they're not
All right.
selling you a near $20 trade that's just 4 issues.
They
So
better not. Marvel Studios, Disney.
Okay,
I think
so
the comic is. I think it's fine. I was really expecting this big endgame event to feel bigger. The stakes, when characters died, I knew they weren't going to be dead. There was small character stuff that I really, really liked, but that's kind of been the case for this whole series. I think the sum of its parts. I think at the end of the day, I think it's all very fine with some really good stuff in between. But I also think that the final one shot should have been an entire arc. I can't believe that final one shot is the end of this Shattered Grid story and it's in 1 issue. It felt very fast.
Yeah, I mean, going back to, I know I've said this before and I'll totally say it again, but going back to when I was watching Power Rangers on TV, the crossover episodes where they bring back the old Rangers were always my favorite episodes. Because you see the old team fighting with the new team. And I feel a lot.
you kind of get that in reverse with this arc.
Yeah, which is weird because it's like it's all of them, but it's only like bits and pieces of the teams, and then you get some. Because I feel like I'm gonna echo a lot of what Ryan said about how this was like a big endgame style event, but it didn't really stuck the landing. But it still landed fine. I still liked what I read. I actually wanted to keep reading, in fact, but there were parts of it where it's like, okay, you kind of just you went quick. You went a little too quick. The pacing wasn't the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is a bit more than fine. I did enjoy it. My biggest problem with the series overall, now that I've read all of Kyle Higgins' run, is that it is definitely something that is enhanced by your familiarity with the shows.
Yeah.
And reading these last couple issues, especially with finding and seeing the other Rangers and knowing where they come from in their continuity would enhance the experience of seeing them. But I don't really feel anything for the new characters because I don't have the familiarity for them. So I feel like I'm missing part of the story because I haven't seen the show and I'm not familiar with the show.
Yeah, there are times where, like, when we got to the Samurai Power Rangers, after I was done watching I was gone before them. I had no idea. Yeah, I was gone. The last one I really, really remember and really like dove into was Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, which one of the Rangers makes an entrance in. So I was like, cool. But then I'm like, the only things the Power Rangers I knew were commercials. That's it. Mm-hmm. Or the toys I would see at the store. So I'm like trying to guess which Ranger is what. So yeah.
Sparks, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I think that pretty much speaks kind of heavily of Kyle Higgins' whole run. This is where it felt the most strongly like this comic's made for people who watch the shows and like know Power Rangers really, really well. And I'm not that person, and this isn't written for me. Frankly, like it's just not. It's not written for me to really enjoy it. I can't glean enough out of it to actually invest in it as an event. It's just kind of like cool, more color people who I can't keep track of when
there are moments
on a panel.
There are moments that actually I was surprised that worked for me. Character moments, I think, is where the series we talked about before, where the series is strength comes from, is the small little character moments, as few and far between as they are. But there's a moment where one of the Space Rangers, I forgot their name, on Terra Verde, whatever it's called, connects with their brother, and they're from different timelines. And I think that moment I was surprised that actually worked for me when they connect. And it's like, oh, we saved you. It's like, yeah, you saved me, and blah, blah. I was like, oh, I'm actually a little shocked that brought a tear to my eye.
Funny enough.
Go ahead.
Funny enough, that Pink Ranger, she's from Lost Galaxy because I remember watching her arc in the show.
I don't think that's funny, but okay.
No, well, okay, you're right. It's not funny, but because her brother, I cannot believe I remember this because her brother was a Ranger, and then she fought against the Rangers, then she became a Ranger herself.
I watched Power Rangers pretty religiously as a kid, but I've expunged all of that. That information has been taken over by Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
So I'll say to you, like, that moment did feel like a good character moment. And I'm like, that's really cool. And then it was over, and I'm like, I don't even know when I ever saw those two characters again in the back. I don't even know where they were. I don't even know who they are. And I'm like, that's cool. I get the idea that they care about something, which is great. I don't know who they are. I'm never going to know who they are. And that's frustrating. And that's, and you said like, yes, the character moments are where the strength of this comic is. That's because that's what we want this comic to be. And this comic isn't that. It's not a character-driven story. And that's ultimately what I'm coming to realize is my problem with it, is I'm like, look, I'm not a person who's invested in the Power Rangers. I'm just not. I think they're cool, but I've never found my inroad other than the 2017 movie, to be honest. And so coming to this comic, I'm like, I want you to tell me why I should be invested in the Power Rangers. But what this is telling me is like, well, if you know all these things, then you can enjoy this comic. And I'm like, cool, I don't know those things. You've got to take me through it. This isn't, and this event is not the kind of thing like what we were talking about when we first started Power Rangers, where I'm like, oh, I have unfamiliarity with these characters, so it's taking me time to get associated with them. If I'd read Go-Go Power Rangers, and then read this, I would feel more acclimated. Sure, I believe that. That's true. That wouldn't help me in this event. No. I'd still feel lost.
It also,
and that's sucky.
It also feels, there's like setup for like the Ranger Slayer that I don't think really is
the Ranger Slayer is interesting. Right, it's not good. The Ranger Slayer is all Go-Go Power Rangers. Go-Go Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers tied in together during Shattered Grid. Everything that happened with Ranger Slayer is from Go-Go Power Rangers.
All right,
That's
I was going to ask about that because Ranger Slayer, I felt like when she's introduced, or for me when I see her for the first time, I'm like, she's gonna have a big part to play, and then later on,
but they talk about that she already had a big part to play later on in the story when we find out that Tommy was shot with an arrow from the Ranger Slayer, and you'll find out later we didn't see that moment. That moment is not in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Thank you. Okay, because I honestly sat there for like a good minute looking at that panel, going, "What am I missing?"
It's so strange because
what happened that I don't know.
Yeah, this is the big like climactic ending. Like Shattered Grid, like it could be a big 10-issue epic event, right? But you can't set up shit that you have to make us read on other stuff like in the future. Like this is supposed to be the end game stuff. I keep using end game just because that's like, you know, like the biggest thing I can think of in terms of scale. You know what I mean? Or like bringing people together and stuff.
Or not have us not have it have something guiding us. But like let's go to comics honestly, comparatively. Like let's talk about like
any event.
Empire.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of characters in Empire who like I don't know their ins and outs in Marvel. There are plenty of them, but because I don't read them, but I still am connected enough into what they're doing that I can keep track of them. I understand why they're there, and I understand their relationships to other characters. And as new Rangers keep coming into this event, I'm like,
we aren't introduced to them. We don't get any names. We get some brief character moments between characters without names, and if you watch the shows, that means something to you. But also, those moments are literally for one panel, and then they're not talked about for the rest of time. So it's just like there's not a lot for me here, I don't think. And I don't know.
Frankly, I want this comic to run. Kyle Higgins' run to have been like 3 times as long as it is.
Yeah,
for him to have taken the time to actually explore everything, because honestly, I felt like what's her name? The when we left off, it was the character who on the
Grace.
Grace,
yeah, my favorite character. So Grace was the character with the most nuance in this book.
Grace's shit is over so fast.
I was so mad. I was so mad.
Oh my god! So I completely agree with you, Sparks. They totally could have expand. I was hoping for them to expand on it, because when she bust out the Mechazord for the first time, I'm thinking, okay,
guess who's the main character? Marguerite Scott's.
What was that, Brandon?
Guess who's the main character in the next issue?
Good.
The Megazord, Grace.
Grace.
Great.
Good.
Oh. Yeah, but that's, you know, like it honestly felt like we were at the beginning of a cool arc, and then it was interrupted by Draken.
Yeah.
Again.
So let's. Sorry, go ahead. No, you finish.
I was gonna say that like the moment Draken showed up, I was already just like
bummed.
Yeah, I was like, we just did Draken. Why are we already back to Draken?
Also, but I hate his escape and how he gets back home. I
get that. But I started to change my mind in the first couple issues because I'm like, this Draken has personality again.
Yes, okay.
I'm excited for a Draken that has personality again. And then it just kind of got bogged down in, what's the word I want to use? All of it got bogged down in spectacle.
Yeah.
In the spectacle of
in the Morphin grid.
And I lost it again.
I think, so real quickly, the Volume 6, the first volume of what we're talking about, is all the Power Rangers now are teaming up with Promethea with Grace to help the world stop these monsters, these clay monsters from activating. What were you said you wrote down some of the names of these clay monsters?
We got Mr. Miyagi. You got Sheeple, who loves to talk about conspiracy theories. How there's only one sister.
I love Sheeple. I love Mr. Miyagi a lot because when they kill one of the cats, they're like, "Oh, we got to kill it 9 times," and then the Zord steps on it. It's like, "How many more times? 3." Dun, dun.
That shit felt great.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, like the stuff with like all this like fun like character stuff. I really like. You got Pilgrim. You got Pilgrim Menace. You got Manic Mantelope. You got Blackhold, and you got Private Maze, who's a corn man, a corn soldier who turns into popcorn.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel that Sheeple was my favorite one just because the one he shot his wool out, all his like Sheeple were like,
I really like I really like the line when they're just like, did he just shoot wool at us?
Yeah. The Earth is flat. There's a second shooter. Like when the comic's being really fun, like what the backups are, I'm really loving it. And then we get to the stuff with Grace where it's like, hey, like, you know, sometimes I can't wait for the Power Rangers. I have to do things on my own. Like, and like, I think that's dope. And there's like, that's like the nuance that I want this book to just always be. And then it's just like, oh, Draken's bad. I'm like, okay, that's
yeah. Cool. The reveal at the end of the volume is that Draken is being held hostage by Promethea. They have Draken. They have imprisoned Draken, and that's where a lot of that stuff comes from.
Yeah.
So the two things which are going to sound a little contradictory, which is like, I think that first volume is actually pretty solid overall. What I will say is that I also feel like it takes 4 issues to tell us information that could have been covered in 2. So in that sense, like the information could have gone faster, but I think it could have taken a full 4 issues if we spent less time regurgitating information and instead spent time building character moments.
Because I like the stuff between like the turmoil between the Rangers and Grace, and like, is Grace doing the right thing? But then they have the same conversation like 3 times over 4 issues. Yeah. That's my problem. Because the first time they did it was great, but then it happens 3 more times, and I'm like, no, I get it, guys. We talked about this. I get it. Grace is, oh, is it bad? I don't know.
So that's part of it. And the other thing is that like comic books, not graphic novels, but comic books are long form storytelling. I'm like, embrace that. Good Lord, take your time. Take a lot of time so that I can invest in this world and invest in these characters and follow along with this arc. It's just, it all, especially when Draken's like free and everything's just moving so fast, and I lose track of all the details.
Again, like I would have loved, again, like Draken, we get immediately introduced Draken's back, and then the next issue, like Saber goes to like kill him and misses and breaks Draken out, and then Draken uses Saber to teleport back to his home where they've already built up his army, so he's back and ready to go to start his great invasion, even though he's been gone.
First he kills Tommy.
Yes, he kills Tommy, which definitely was real and definitely happened.
Isn't Tommy? I don't understand. In the end, isn't Tommy still dead? They can't change that.
No, he's alive.
No, he's alive. No, he's like Captain America. When he died, he got stuck in space and time. Tommy got stuck into the Morphin.
No, I understand that part, but I thought when maybe I don't understand because honestly, I don't know that it was written very well to be understandable.
Yeah.
But at the end, when they're going back and resetting things, I thought that the exchange between him and Kim meant when they reset things, he's still going to be dead.
No.
Oh, he'll just be alive?
Yeah, he's back.
Then why are they sad?
Because they'll forget that they connected.
Oh, what connection?
They kissed, remember?
Oh, kiss my ass.
Remember?
Also, there's a funny little bit that I noticed when Kimberly is like, I have a hard time letting people connect because the last person I connected to was Matt. That's Go-Go Power Rangers. That's what Go-Go Power Rangers is about.
Also, real quick, I really like, I know this is at the end, but like, I really hate, not only do I hate the concept of this big thing happened, but we all have to just forget it because that's how this works. And we all just have to go back to the real world and whoop, that event never happened. This big important thing never happened. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Can't have them remember that a multiverse exists. Actually, that you see in other contexts all the time. But what I really hated about it is the person saying the line, and it's like, Jason, and he's like, I mean, does it really matter? Even if we don't remember, all these things still happened. We just won't remember it. And I'm like, this isn't for anybody except to make it so the audience can accept that the characters don't have to ever acknowledge these events ever again.
That's the exact same thing that has to happen. Three Jokers number 3. I'm saying.
God. Of course.
So Draken's back. He's got his full army, baby. He wants to get all the Power Rangers stuff so he can access the Morphin grid and basically like become a god, basically, right? Is that his plan?
He wants to reshape reality through the Morphin grid.
Okay. So that's cool. I initially was like, okay, that's not just him taking over the world. It's bigger than that. Okay.
I mean, I like that his end game. Wow. I like that he wants to like reshape reality. He wants to
Dr. Doom. He's Dr. Doom. This is Secret Wars.
Yeah. I will say I do like the I don't know how controversial this is going to be on this panel, but
we'll keep talking real quick.
I liked that it was the fact that he sees himself as broken because he's the only Tommy Oliver in the entire multiverse who didn't turn good. That drove him insane. Yeah. I kind of really like that motivation, that this is why he wants to recreate the universe. Is because he thinks the good Tommy Olivers are broken and he is not, when it's in fact the reverse, and he can't accept that.
Yeah, I mean, the villain always sees himself as the hero of his own story. Yeah,
yeah. I found that motivation, the motivation that we didn't get when we first saw Dragon. I found that to be intriguing.
So what I like that idea. I don't think it's executed as well as it is, and the reference point for that is that what I liked most about Draken's motivations is when he's talking to Finster 5 and he says,
so cool, by the way, Finster 5, love Finster 5.
And he says, no, they too hold their Tommy on a pedestal for no reason I can discern. And Finster 5 says, perhaps it's love. And he says, there's nothing to love about him. It doesn't make any sense, which speaks more to an idea of he's so full of self-hatred.
Yeah.
And I wish that that's the arc that they went for. Not necessarily just that he's like, they are the inferior Tommies, I must be the superior Tommy, but that he actually hates himself. That he hates himself and he thinks all versions of Tommy should be punished was a far more interesting concept to me. And I wish that kind of had been part of the execution of it in the end.
I agree. And he kills his best friend after confessing, like, I like you too much to let you go down this dark path. So he's like, okay, I got to kill you because I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is good. I want more of this. And I just don't think there's enough of it. I agree, Brandon. I like that idea. I just don't think it's explored enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, the Shattered Grid thing, like it's so big in scope. Like it's the biggest thing you can possibly do with Power Rangers. And this shouldn't have just been I'm sure Go-Go was involved as well or whatever, but like this should not have just been a 10-issue in Power Ranger story. This should have had multiple tie-ins. This should have been a huge thing where there's 6 books with all the different Power Ranger teams so I can get invested in them. Because when they show up for one panel, I don't give a shit about what's happening.
That's actually a great point. Like if they just had like 6-issue minis of all the other teams
of what's happening
really are relevant to the story so that I could like read those too. I know that's a lot of reading, but at least then I'm like, I get it. I know who this is. Oh, when they show up here, I give a shit.
It's no different than Empire when we're buying in a bunch of tie-ins, though, right? Yeah. When you're invested, like you'll buy those books. And like, if this made me care about the 1,000 Rangers I see on screen, maybe I'd care more.
I don't know if this. I don't know if this is a good analogy, but I feel like Shattered Grid could have been great if they went the Ten of Swords route. I know this came out long before Ten of Swords, but like every single book in the Power Rangers line, be a part of Shattered Grid, and then when it does come out, it's in all one complete package. You get everything, every Ranger or every team, every major character, it's not just like tiny little snippets here and there. It's the whole story.
Well, it's like what we're seeing coming up with King in Black. The idea, there's like, there's Carnage versus Gwenum. There's Immortal Hulk. There's blah blah blah. There's Immortal Iron Fist is going to fight a Venom. Like there's Doctor Doom is going to fight Santa Claus. Like there's these little tie-ins, one shots, miniseries, what have you, as long as they need to be to more flesh out what's going on. Whereas you have the mainline title connecting them all. Yeah, that's how an event works, and that's how that's. People complain people complain a lot, and I get it's a lot to read. But honestly, it's a formula that allows you to connect with things that you wouldn't necessarily get in the main title, and it enhances the story. We talked about with Doomsday Clock, how Doomsday Clock would have benefited, would be one of the events that honestly would have benefited from tie-ins.
Yep.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. And I think that this is another one of those things that, it's great that they decided to bring in the Super Sentais from the 70s, which weren't actually Power Rangers. They're the Japanese equivalent because the show's been going on since forever in Japan. And that's cool. I don't know who those people are. Nobody in America knows who those people are because that show didn't air in America.
Right.
Oh, sorry. I wrote down police state because that was the most like nuanced like political thing in this comic where Grace goes to a place where Finster's monsters haven't mutated yet, so she puts them in quarantine and she puts them in a police state. And the Rangers are like, "Is this okay to do to lock these people up before they've committed a crime?" And I'm like, "This is what I want the whole comic to be. This is awesome." And it's a half issue.
But it doesn't. But it also, like, as a concept, doesn't really matter, right? Because they're not people.
No,
like they never were people.
They're clay.
They're clay things that
turn them.
It wouldn't like. I know there is. She does like. Trini has that line where it's like, that thing didn't like know, and that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
That like it seemed to be a person, and then it wasn't. Ooh, and I think that speaks more to like the Power Rangers having to, which I don't think they ever will, having to like question like how fast they kill these monsters and that kind of thing, and to go.
I guess that's just me.
What are you killing and that kind of thing?
Just me being a modern comic reader, where nuance and like in like. I guess it's Power Rangers, so like I guess there just can never be just like a middle ground. It's always got to be good versus evil. It can never be. Wait, maybe what we're doing is wrong because that's like.
Right, that was kind of my point. Is just saying like I agree with you that that's like a cool idea, but I think it's undercut by the fact that the moment it's a monster, they murder it.
Yeah,
that's true. And I think that like you kind of lose that any kind of gray area discussion, or at least having it in a real way in this comic.
It's very true.
And I don't necessarily need Power Rangers to exist in a gray area. I do need it to have a little bit more nuance, though.
Yep.
I just need
as an adult, I guess.
Yeah. No.
I just need it to let me connect to all the characters.
Yeah.
And when
that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Do you know what the other problem with Shattergrid is that the characters I'm already connected to aren't featured enough.
Yeah.
Jason,
like not really.
So Jason starts like a romance with some girl that I don't even know, and they connect, and I'm like, I don't even know this was happening. Where you know what I'm talking about? He like kisses some girl who I'm like, who is this?
No, he doesn't. They don't kiss, but they kind of share a moment of like, oh, I'm really glad I met you. I'm really glad I met you too.
That thing you were always gonna say, me too.
I didn't know who that was. So when that moment happened, I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah, that's the Ninja Ranger. I forgot
that's the Red Ranger from the Samurai one.
I now want to talk about my absolute favorite thing in Shattergrid.
Yeah.
Skull as a traitor.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite thing.
And how Draken
No, it's not just that. It's the hold on, I have the panel here because it's the other guy who recruited him.
Oh yeah.
Saying to Lord Draken, he's like, I don't understand. Oh, here it is. Okay. In all our years together, I had never seen anything to suggest that Skolovich was not 100% committed to your rule, my lord. For him to turn like this, it's just such an unfathomable betrayal. I don't know how he could have done it. Like, it's not just that Skull did it. Skull did it so well
that
they're like,
spy.
I can't believe it even happened.
And then doesn't Draken like punish him, saying, so you're saying I'm incompetent then, or something like that?
Yeah, no, he's saying, so you're incompetent.
You're admitting that you're incompetent, and has him taken to some dungeons, and he kills Skull on the spot. But it's freaking dope. And then Skull coming in there and insulting Draken. I'm like, this is really good content for a character who I've spent very little time with. Skull as a traitor is one of my favorite things.
I also want to give a shout out to Finster, who continues to be dope ass dude. Regular Finster, when he's captured, he talks about art, and this guy connects with me on a super level because he's like, art is all about the relationship between the creator and the audience. It is about the reaction elicited by the creation. In so many ways, the reaction is the creation. I'm like, Finster, you get me. Art's about reactions, baby. And then he just realized he was captured on his own volition, and he just escapes because he was just having fun with them. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, Finster rules.
Go ahead.
One of the things I actually did not think this book was going to make me love were the villains that I thought were utter buffoons in the shows. Finster, Goldar.
Yeah, that's right. Hold on. You brought it up, which is what I was about to say, which is the biggest problem with this event is there's no Goldar in these issues. Absolute zero Goldar, which is also one of the best things in this comic, and not have him in anything.
Also, another Rita, because of course, you know, the cartoons, make my monster grow, high pitch voice. But now she's like, yo, I'm actually kind of scared of Rita.
So I forgot real quickly, Ben. I want us to say, because you didn't read the Finster story from the annual, but you didn't read the annuals from the last episode. You need to, because if you liked Finster in this one, reading that annual really helped reading this Finster.
I bet it does. But one big glaring thing that I have about this arc, and it might be explored in later volumes, and it was probably a setup before the event, was the Wizard of Deception.
It's set up.
Now, meeting the Wizard of Deception was cool, especially when he tells Repulsa, I need something from you that you do not want to give, and that's truth. Speak the words I know you hate to say. And she speaks the words, and he's like, okay, I will get right on your object. What is the object? What does it do? And nothing.
It's like a Wolverine and X of Swords. What's the deal, Wolverine? What'd you do?
Is it not the candle?
It's the candle.
Oh, it's a candle.
Yeah, I thought it was a candle. Yeah, because when they get there, they say it's that they sense the energy of the Wizard of Deception. And I'm like, cool, so it's the candle.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That went right over my head.
I don't have a problem with that because what Rita says to earn that candle is, I think I need to fix a mistake I made.
Yeah,
which means the Green Ranger. Yeah. And so she goes and gets the green candle.
Okay.
I thought his design was wicked wild. I was kind of hoping he'd be like another new lieutenant. Yeah. Because he's like a cool, like pumpkin-esque design. I'm about it.
Draca's design continues to be awesome.
It does.
Yeah.
So again, art fantastic.
Yeah.
Like obviously the covers are beautiful. The art interior is pretty great.
I do wish it was the artist from the previous volumes, because no offense to this artist, if you're going to do a big bad event, get the guy from the last events who like, I thought the art was pretty good for most of this, but compared to the previous art, the Lions art is distinct. The action is as a kinetic. The Zords do not look as good, I don't think. I think a lot of the characters look kind of stiff at times.
There are multiple panels where something is off in perception, and I thought, the first time it happened, I'm like, that's just me. I'm just being stupid. And then the second and third time it happened, I went, no, I think that this just isn't perceived well. And it's that I constantly had moments where I thought characters were suddenly small, but it was actually that they were in the background. But it looked like they were small and in front of the person who's supposed to be in the foreground, because like the spatializing on them wasn't good.
Yeah.
This happened multiple times, and I went, okay, it's just something in the art that's again, not working.
Like, those first couple volumes, like that art was like, and again, like I'm not an artist. Like the artists for these volumes are amazing compared to me, of course. But like that person who did that first couple volumes, like, was so good, and that's what really kept me going. And I'm like, I was kind of looking forward to like that level of quality. And like for again, like the big event, I kind of found the art lacking because this is the event. This isn't just like number 7, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was still good and all, but like I was expecting it to be like blown away by it, and it kind of wasn't.
Well, it's kind of like if Greg Capullo didn't come back to do death metal. Like,
why
wouldn't you get Greg Capullo to do death metal? He started it. He started the journey.
It was probably scheduling stuff or whatever. I kind of just wish, like, man, like this is your final arc of the book. It should have been like A+ art.
Yeah.
I think a general feeling is just this event came too soon. It just feels like something that wasn't built up to. I think you made a great point with just talking about the Finster one shot and how that recolors that character. That should have happened to multiple characters before this event. That we should have had one shots or a single issue that focuses on a character, like we've had with Billy and Zach. For the new Rangers, for Draken, for whatever, like these characters all should have been like, I should have been much deeper. I should have been able to say, like, when I come to it, the same way that we came to Crisis on Infinite Earths for the CW shows, oh, well, if I really want to be invested, I've got this backlog of material I can watch to know what's up with these characters if I so choose.
Yeah.
And that's the same perception that should have come to this event, is that, like, here's the backlog that you can be invested in when this happens. This needs a handbook.
Yeah.
At minimum.
Here's the thing. Here's a really good example, because, Ben, you brought up Ten of Swords. I'm not very familiar with the X-Men. I've seen all the movies, but the movies aren't a good representation of who those characters are. I've read a sprinkling of them in comic books, but when I read Ten of Swords, I have so many comic books that I'm already familiar with these characters. I'm reading the event 2 years into already reading the X-Men. I know who these characters are. I'm familiar with them. I've read Shattered Grid, and admittedly we did binge it, but it's not. I don't think that the Power Rangers comics do a good enough job of introducing us to these characters by the time we get to the event that we're supposed to care about.
Yeah. And I'm not familiar enough, but if I can speak frankly, I think part of the problem is that the characters are too interchangeable. In basic personality, there's not a lot that differentiates Power Rangers, at least my perception. They're all more or less do-gooders, with the occasional one who had a bad streak and then was a do-gooder. And there's not a lot that really define, like, oh, my parents are getting divorced and but those are facts about their lives. Those are not character traits. Those are not things that define their personality, and that makes it very hard to discern the characters. So you have to invent that stuff, and I just don't feel like they were willing to go the extra mile to invent that stuff for introducing all these extra characters, because I agree with them, like, ultimately, if that was the case, I didn't want to read a comic where I was just remaking a different version of what is essentially Jason.
Yeah,
I'd want to meet a new character.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've sufficiently kicked the horse.
We got to talk about the finale. We got to talk about, so issue 30 is not the end of the comic.
No.
It's actually a one-shot that comes after it, which I think is a mistake. if you're going to end your series, you should just put it.
But before we go too deep to the finale, I did want to touch on like Commander Kruger.
Yeah.
Who I have no idea who that guy is.
Oh, the
where
furry?
he comes from. The dog.
Yeah.
That dude's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
He looked like a Gendy Tartakovsky character jumping out of the air when he
Are you
first shows
telling
up,
me
and I'm like,
There's a Captain Dog in space.
and again, I go back to, well, I want to know more about this dude, but I'm not going to learn it here.
I think I saw like half an episode of that because he's part of like Power Rangers SPD or something. I know I've seen him before. I just can't remember where.
It looks like real time. Oh yeah, he's got to talk. This is a podcast. No, look at that. He's a big ass dog man.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Very cool.
Zordon and him going to recruit Rita to aid them, I thought was a really good moment.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really good heel turn that paid off really well.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I do want to spotlight like some of the good stuff, like the two Zacks, the Zack from the coin list and the other Zack talking to each other.
Yeah.
About like, how did it turn out, telling them about the Green Ranger offer. And he's like, yeah, you were right. Thanks for helping me. He's like, yeah, it's just nice that somebody can fix my mistakes.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, do you have any other tips for the future? He's like, I can't tell you that.
I love Zordon sending out the panel where it's Zordon warning all the different Rangers across time and space.
Definitely one of the best panels in this volume for sure.
Yeah.
That's dope as hell. I want the cosmic Power Ranger reaching out.
Draken reaching.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We keep bringing up like Secret Wars or like those sorts of, honestly, this or Endgame, like honestly, this felt to me like a pretty 1-for-1 worst telling of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
No, I meant the very final issue where he rewrites reality. That's
I know, but I'm just talking about like we didn't touch on this, and I feel like we kind of should. The Power Rangers timeline is in fact linear. There are no parallel dimensions in Power Rangers as far as the show is concerned. What this did was Draken's meddling had shattered the timeline into becoming multiple parallel dimensions rather than the linear timeline. And that's kind of the major crux.
Every timeline now is like its own pocket.
Wait, yeah. I have a question. Parallel dimensions haven't existed before this?
I don't believe so. I'm not familiar with.
How did Zack see other Zacks in the one shot?
It's all from the futures. What happens is whenever the Power Rangers all get together and like do their like, hey, we're all Power Rangering together. When it's ever like all the Red Rangers, they're not coming from parallel dimensions. They're being recruited from time.
But some of those Zacks were the same age with different powers in the one shot I'm speaking.
Yeah, because Zack had different powers in Mighty Morphin.
I don't know.
Zack had like 2 or 3 coins.
How is that? But how is that on the same timeline if he's the same age?
Because after the movie, they had to get new powers because the Morphin grid was screwed up, so they had to find new powers. So they became like the Ninja Warriors, and that was a whole thing.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then eventually you got the Zeo crystals, and then eventually Tommy comes back in Turbo. Oh yeah, no Turbo Rangers. That kind of
Power Rangers don't understand this.
That's really stupid. Okay. Whatever.
Let's talk about the ending.
Okay, so the ending. Draken has succeeded in rewriting reality.
Yeah.
He's Superman of this world, Lord Dragon. Everyone loves him.
And Batman.
Yeah.
He's both.
Everyone loves him. He can beat these things, and he's seeing our Tommy in his mind. It's revealed that Tommy is in fact alive. Big surprise. Who cared?
I would have liked this if this were a full ass arc. If this were the Age of Apocalypse. If this were the Age of Draken, Age of X-Man, where he is the glorious leader and he does get his wish, and it is a quote unquote perfect reality, but it slowly undoes at the seams. Because that's what this was, just in one issue, and I thought it was very cool, very fast.
I wonder if they weren't allowed to. I wonder if Saban just wouldn't let them.
Yeah. Because like I am totally down of like this, like again, like this battle world, like, yo, I am the emperor now and everyone loves me, but like not really, it's all secret. And, like I love that shit. But it was 25 pages. Like that's a whole arc. That's so cool. That's like he rewrote reality for one issue. That stinks.
Just before that happened.
Ooh, look at that art.
I really did like the moment when Jason gives the Dragon Zord blade to Kim.
I took a picture of that too. She's like, because like he wants you to lead the Zords. He's like, yeah, but like
because he's got to go on the charge.
And but the pterodactyl isn't part of the Zords. Like that, I'm on my own. And he's like, yeah, I know. And she's like,
because it was in Dragon. The Dragon Zord formation doesn't have the pterodactyl.
Yes, but he wants her to lead anyway, and that's like that is a good moment of like, yo, you're a leader, you earn this. That's sweet. Jason
gets kind of speaking to what we were talking about, but after Tommy dies, Jason gets a new power. This special Red Ranger power that he gets in the show. He gets that in the comic, but it's never explained why. He just has this shoulder pads now. And that was kind of frustrating because I'm like, can you tell the audience what that is so we can be cued into this?
Yeah.
So the last issue was pretty good. It was pretty cool though. Just kind of wish it was longer.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to really get invested because it was over before I even realized it. I was like, man, that Tommy voice in your head's immediate, and we're already getting your ass kicked. All right,
it's kind of like if Superior Spider-Man issue 1 ended with Peter Parker being like, surprise.
If Superior Spider-Man, was one issue, God,
or not just one issue, but like 6.
Yeah.
Like it's like if Superior Spider-Man was 6 issues, and it's like we're gonna do this whole new thing. Oh, done.
Yeah,
we did it.
We did this one thing. Next desk quote. Bye.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, this is the kind of thing where, like, I am only mentioning this because it is the most recent, like, long run I read in, like, a close sitting. But Tom King's Batman run is basically a long build up to him fighting Bane.
Hell yeah.
And there's a first encounter with Bane, and then there's the long build up to a second encounter with Bane. And that's essentially Draken, long build up to second encounter with Draken. But that happened over 86 issues.
This happens over
and it had a whole lot of character build up, and this was 30. And didn't have a whole lot of character build up. And that's pretty much what I'd want, is I'd rather that it were that kind of thing where I'm like, I'm invested in every single player of what's about to come.
Also, the second encounter was like 4 issues after they beat him.
Yeah.
So that's what, like, again, if there could have been at least 2 volumes before, just to do a little more character build up before, like, just immediately back.
It's like 6
back to Draken.
I get you.
I don't think the problems with this comic would be fixed if it were longer. I think it would help him. I just wonder if if Kyle Higgins was just not willing or able to expand more on the characters.
For sure, and that's 100% part of the problem. But the reason why I cite length as it is because I'm like, you need to fill character beats in between. I'm not saying get rid of these good action moments necessarily, but I am saying I need character stuff in between, which implies more length because it's just moving too briskly through it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not necessarily saying take a lot of stuff out, but I am saying put more shit in for me to care.
And man, if Scott Snyder can do 12 issues of Zero Year, I can get 12 issues of Shattered Good. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we've kicked this comic enough.
I don't think we kicked it. I think we just, criticized it.
I can be critical of a book that I think is fine, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just kidding. I was just kidding.
I wanted to
like it more.
I wanted to get more sucked in.
I did
frankly.
too.
I wanted to become a deeper Power Rangers fan because of this, and I don't even think that that's off the table. Like, I think I could go to Go-Go Power Rangers, and that might still happen.
Yeah.
But right now, this is not the path. This is not the way.
What I've found reading all this and after that 2017 movie is maybe just big Power Ranger spectacle isn't actually what I'm looking for in Power Rangers anymore. Because like I think of that movie and like the stuff I care about is the character stuff, and the stuff I care about in this comic is the character stuff. And spectacle is cool, but I have to care about the people involved in it for me to want to see how big it is. So when it's cool that there's 1,000 Power Rangers on the screen, but like I know one of their names.
I like when they all spill raining out of the sky.
Oh, that's
a great panel.
Yeah, I think to close out my feelings on this whole thing is I'm much like Sparks was looking to go into this becoming a bigger Power Ranger fan and hoping that I would become a bigger Power Ranger fan reading this comic book. Like tonally it is what I'm looking for with Power Rangers, and I love the spectacle stuff. I just need to care about these characters, and that's really the problem, is that I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about the back. Yeah, let's talk about the backstories.
Right, we got to talk about the backstories. So Squat and Babu ends that we've been following their journey from the last episode.
They're in a parallel world.
I loved it.
I did too.
I loved the way it ended with them becoming emperors. and it all being perfect for them.
And then the real ones show up.
And then the real ones are like, nah, get the heck out.
And again, these are only like 2 or 3 pages or whatever, but like this art is like awesome. It is so unique and like full of character, and like their expressions are so lively. It's so completely different than the Power Rangers book we're reading. It's nice and fluffy, and just a lot of fun.
I did think going from the last time we talked about this into this run of the Squat and Babu backstories, like how many more times can I watch them go to a world and screw up, like, you know, by misunderstanding, or like they turn out to be like, how many times am I going to watch that kind of antic? And the fact that they ended up in a world where they're basically treated like they're in Road to El Dorado, really worked for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, this went really well, exactly the way I'd want it to.
Yeah, citizens of Earth, do not fear. Your emperors are here. Yeah, he looks like Sully.
Yeah,
from Monsters Inc. Yeah,
or Winston from Overwatch.
Yeah, oh yeah. I love like the Dr. Doom-esque like all the audience is like, oh, they love us, and the putty men are like, kneel. I was like, I think that it's a good contrast.
And then that ends, and then the new story of Blue Centurion and Ninjor starts.
Oh, excuse me. Crime stinks, and I'm the deodorizer. Okay, that's the line that won it for me. Yo, man, this is the guy who's trying to catch Power Ranger putties. I just think it's nice and fluffy, good time.
I liked the guy who was creating these putty monsters.
Jesus, Ninjor is a perfect example of just like, hey, I don't know who Ninjor is. Can you tell me?
They will in 5 issues.
Yeah, I don't. Apparently, that dude like makes the power coins, but he's super easily duped by an evil Tommy.
He has more character and presence in these backstories than he does in the entire run of the Kyle Higgins comics.
Being super silly and stuff. Yeah.
That happens regularly.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought it was just a good time. Just, you know, these putties and their Power Rangers. Yeah.
I just don't. Yeah, I ultimately agree with what Brandon was saying. Just kind of looking back at the main comic. Sorry, I don't think Kyle Higgins just cares enough about writing characters.
Yeah,
and developing them,
which is so
that's
funny,
a bummer.
Because like I'm looking at my Nightwing comic right there. I'm like, that dude's he's all about character. It's so weird. Maybe I really wonder if it was like a Saban thing where I'm like, you have to do it a certain way.
It's possible.
Probably was.
I mean, the books were super successful. I don't know.
I will say, I know I said my final thoughts, but this is probably gonna be my final thoughts on this. As much as the moment for Tommy's death, I knew he was going to come back. I do actually like the stuff at the end of them of that issue of them all mourning him. I thought that was some good, just little vignettes, just in the art, because there's especially a moment where Jason is talking to Bulk and Skull, and they look sad, and
that's the beginning of the next issue.
Yeah, I thought that stuff was pretty good.
I agree. No, I agree. I felt like so. It's a weird contrast thing because what happened is that I feel like they really are feeling the loss of Tommy. And then we got to, what did Trini do with the Black Dragon, by the way? Because we never saw it. Anyway, sorry, that just popped in my head.
She was fighting in it?
Sure. Right? Where?
In the art somewhere.
Anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to tangent that hard. But I felt like when we were getting to the other Ranger teams and they'd lost people, they're like, yeah, that happens. And I'm like, what do you mean that happens?
Grace has been depressed for 40 years.
Be upset.
Isn't it like a Grace and Jason thing, like going through that trauma? And then
they're like it's them, but like when it's the other new teams and like they're like the one person saved from their team and the rest are missing or dead, and it's like, you know, there'll be like lip service paid to like, it's really rough, but I'm like, I'm not
feeling it.
Are we experiencing a moment of grief here? Are we experiencing emotions? Do you Rangers feel? And that's the kind of thing that makes it hard to connect to these new Ranger characters, because I'm like, you just feel like you're kind of flashy and here to fill it out.
Okay, so that's it then. We
are done with Power Rangers.
Over 30 issues of Power Rangers.
For Power Rangers, so it is time to pick a new book. What our next book club will be. I am out of the equation.
Real quick, before we move on, like, would you guys recommend it overall? We're at the end of the run. We're stopping. Who do you recommend it to? I think you'll read more, not necessarily of this line, but more Power Rangers.
If you're a fan, an actual fan of Power Rangers, I think there is a lot for you here.
I'm sure that's true.
If you're not, I think it's a struggle. Not that it's a bad book, but I think it's a struggle because it makes you rely on being a fan.
I would say if you loved the 90s show and you loved Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the original one, you can get a lot out of this book. But once you get to Shattered Grid, you better brush up on some.
You gotta know your shit.
You're gonna be lost.
Watch a 5-hour video.
Sparks and you and I know a Power Rangers fan. I think for people like that, like definitely this is a book for you. For if you know Power Rangers in any sense, if you're familiar with Power Rangers more than I am, more than we all are, I think this is definitely a book for you. To answer another question of whether or not I definitely will read more Power Rangers, because I did start reading Go-Go Power Rangers, and I honestly think that book is great.
So I know that, and which is why I was going to ask Brandon specifically. Would you say that people should read Go-Go, then go to this?
Didn't it come out after? Well,
yeah, Go-Go came out after this.
Yeah.
But it is a prequel. It is set before this.
Right.
I think if you wanted to, because Go-Go also is still going.
Right.
It's got a different name now.
Still going?
You got me.
Definitely. I do think that, you read a couple issues of Go-Go Power Rangers, you're going to understand who these characters are, and then you want to go to this. Certainly. Yeah, totally. I think it'll help.
Would you say there's like at least like the first 2 volumes or so of Go-Go and then read Mighty Morphin, so you at least have introductory, like, I care and am invested in the main cast and now I can move forward?
Yeah, I think that'll help in a sense. I don't think it will completely dissuade all of our problems, but it will help.
For sure, but I'm thinking back to I came into this rough, and then I got more on board with the Draken introduction because that shit was lit when it started, and then I was riding high on that for a while, and then this is kind of where I started to slip again. Mm-hmm. And I think that's partially the fault of just I don't know Power Rangers. Then it's partially the fault of they're not telling me enough about Power Rangers.
Yeah, I think Go-Go is the book. Go-Go is the book, honestly.
Yeah,
I think it's also a line of for any property that gets a comic, you have to give your reader enough information so if they're new, they're not lost, but also to cater to the fans. That's always a problem with a new #1 and stuff, right? I just feel I guess if you're doing Shattered Grid, this is the place to do your big, everybody's involved that's involved in Power Rangers. So I guess it's hard, again, unless you just want to write more comics, to really dive into everything and to explain everything, because there's just too much.
I think you bring up a good point, though, because we could cite the smaller independent characters who are harder to be familiar with, and you kind of have to reintroduce them. But we could also look to Batman.
Yeah.
And anytime Batman starts a new #1, you know the generic things about Batman the same way I would know the generic things about the Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
But you are still reintroduced to where he is at emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And the Power Rangers need that in certain aspects of this comic. They need that same sensibility of where are they at in life?
Yeah.
How do they feel?
Almost more Bulk and Skull. In her, what's it called? When they're on the TV station or whatever, telling us what's happening. Almost just give data pages. Every book needs data pages.
I'll say that at some point, I have no idea when, I'll probably return to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because there's someone who I still desperately want to see more of, and it's Goldar.
Yes, yes.
And I'm waiting for the big Goldar arc payoff.
The Gold arc.
And I'll wait forever if it takes it, but I'll do it.
I will agree with that.
And I imagine that there are some strong, just from what Brand said, other comics in the Boom Studios group, and maybe one day I'll make my way into that because I'd like to be invested in Power Rangers. And I don't really see another good way to do it because I'm not going to watch a bunch of old shows. I might watch a YouTube video about them, but I'm not going to watch all those shows.
So right now, or coming soon, there's the next Red Ranger crossover or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the original Jason Scott or whatever, I saw a clip of it. And that dude's almost 50, so I don't blame him for looking the way he does, but it's him and a bunch of teenagers, and he's it's Morphin time, and I'm Goldar's there, but it's Goldar Prime, it's a new Goldar. He looks like shit, you guys. The original Goldar is the best Goldar, and I'm not just saying that because of nostalgia.
It's not the same, be clear, it's not the same character. It is a different character. It's his progeny.
No, I know, and he sucks.
Okay, so that is it. As Ben's screen gets darker as this episode has gone on,
the sun is being a dick, and also
it's dark now in Southern California.
So yeah, it's time to pick a new book. I am out of the equation for this week because we just did my pick. So I'm gonna pull up the wheel. There it is. There's our wheel. All right, guys, give me your picks.
I'm gonna go first because I'm literally right here. I have the beautifully classic Tom Strong by Alan Moore and Chris Sprouse.
All right, Tom Strong. All right.
Then I have The Punisher by Greg Rucka and Marc. How do I say his name? Marco Cicchetto. Nope. Oh, you can just put the. Oh yeah, that's fine.
Greg Rucka, Punisher.
Yeah.
All right, Sparks. Since you're on the same screen.
My picks are Unknown Soldier.
Oh, I love you.
Soldier.
That's a good one.
And Athena Voltaire.
Athena Voltaire. Unknown Soldier, the DC.
Pardon?
Unknown Soldier, Vertigo, DC.
Let me pull it up because I don't have it in front of me, but I'll tell you in a second. Go ahead and go to Ben.
So we're quickly we are putting we're going to start putting Marvel and DC books on the wheel from now on.
Put what? Say that again.
I remember we talked about behind the scenes, Ryan, about how long we wanted to wait before we put on a Marvel or a DC book.
None of you guys have read The Punisher though, so I think is that okay?
That's fine. It's all you guys. Yeah. It's all you guys.
I do remember talking about that, but I think it's also just like books none of us have read is the thing. Yeah. Also,
I think it's just a case by case basis.
Yeah.
All right, Ben.
Well, I'm actually changing my picks for once.
Good.
Yeah, the first one is a Radioactive Spider-Gwen.
Wait, okay, hold on. Okay. No.
Which one? No. There's literally like 4 different number ones of that.
Okay, Radioactive. The title that was mistakenly called Radioactive Spider-Gwen is the series that started after Secret Wars.
Yeah.
So the relaunched one.
So the relaunched one.
Yes, that one.
The one before Ghost Spider.
Yeah, the one before Ghost Spider.
Got it.
Okay.
What's the other one?
Okay, I mean, I think all of us have read that one, but okay.
Yeah. I haven't. That's why I'm putting it on. I just packed away the trades that 10 minutes ago.
And you don't have to always pick something you own.
Well, because I like having stuff I own, so it makes me read it. That's why.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't own any of the Power Rangers books.
What's your other one?
Did I just spoil it? Ben?
Immortal Hulk.
Okay. All right.
So are we going to read volumes 1 and 2 again, or just start at 3?
No, we're going to keep going.
Start at 3.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Ben, you need to get more comics.
I'm moving, dude.
We will talk about this off podcast.
Yes. Okay.
To clarify, my Unknown Soldier is it's a 4-volume run from DC Vertigo by Joshua Dysart.
Hell yeah, he did a good something run.
All right. Here we go. Round and round they go.
Oh my god, I'm about to see all of you all over again. Oh my god.
Immortal Hulk's not even done. Really?
I guess we're doing Immortal Hulk.
We're gonna do Immortal Hulk until the series is done. It's not done yet.
We're gonna get through it before the book even finishes.
Okay, I guess.
All right, cool. We're doing it.
Unless we decide not to something. Okay, that's it. So I guess Immortal Hulk is the next book club series. Jesus. Until then,
where can you find us?
You can find us all at Fake Nerd Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. FakeNerdGuys@gmail.com. Guys, don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to this channel. There's a lot of cool stuff on this channel. We got more book club episodes. We got the Michael Morisi interview for the book club. We got Wasted Space for the book club. We just did all of Power Rangers. If you're watching this and you haven't watched all the other Power Rangers ones, sorry we spoiled the whole thing, but maybe go through it.
What are we doing? Reading volume 8 before first 7. Crazy.
We also have our Fake Nerds Watch series, which we are going to start our Mandalorian Fake Nerds Watch series. We're going to do 2 episodes at a time of that one, just to keep our schedules nice and easy to coordinate. Because we did it with the first season of Mandalorian. We just finished Lovecraft Country. We got The Boys up there now. Swamp Thing is still airing on the CW. Check out our after show for that. Watchmen, Game of Thrones season 8. We got a lot of cool stuff. Umbrella Academy. We got a lot of cool stuff in the Fake Nerds Watch series.
All those old shows.
Yeah, we also have our Basement Arcade series. We just did some cool October stuff for Basement Arcade, some Left 4 Dead, some Animal Crossings, some Dead by Daylight, some some Dead Space. Thank you. More Basement Arcade coming. Do you guys know what more Basement Arcade coming? Cool. Stay tuned.
We will be sometime in this month releasing some stuff from Fortnite because the Marvel event is coming down and Galactus is descending from the sky rapidly. So
it's pretty cool.
Oh no, I'm losing my battery.
Oh no!
Oh,
Got it.
Okay,
we might be playing some Phasmophobia. I'm gonna just keep putting it out in the air until we play that mother effer.
That's definitely planned.
Yeah. Okay. We also have our Fake Nerd podcast series. It's our home show. It's our mothership show. We've been doing our quarantine cast for 20-something thousand years because that's how long this quarantine has been going on. We've been doing our live shows instead of just recording them and putting them up later. This week is Over the Moon.
Yep.
If this goes out before Sunday, if this goes out before tomorrow, because we're recording this on Saturday, then we're doing Over the Moon. If not, we just did Over the Moon. I hope you guys watched it.
I'm over the moon, excited to watch it.
I suspect this will be up Monday.
We just did Over the Moon. This coming week, I forgot. I could look it up, but I'm not gonna.
Shattered the grid.
Until and then so that's cool. We just did a bunch of our celebration of Black horror on the Fake Nerd podcast series. We did Candyman, we did His House, we did Attack the Block, we did Vampires vs. the Bronx. A lot of cool stuff. Please check those out. If you guys are not familiar with a lot of those movies, check them out. Okay. Until next time with the Immortal Hulk, stay Fake Nerds.